Get ready for a great show.
Black space is a place for us.
Real people with real issues.
Discussing real topics.
Black space.
A safe space for our community.
Hello, I'm George Middleton, your host this evening on this podcast episode of Black Space Live. This evening, we're going to discuss the average man and the average woman as it pertains to their ability to recover from failed relationships. Who suffers the most? Who recovers quicker? However, before we get into that, I'd like to take this time briefly to encourage you to like, subscribe, and share this podcast. In other words, don't be selfish with this content. Share the love. You can catch Black Space Live on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, and Spotify. You can also catch us on Anchor FM, Podcast Addict, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and iHeart Radio. We have a banging group of intelligent, talented, and beautiful panelists this evening. And I am going to take some time and let each of them introduce themselves and say hi and leave anything with the listeners and viewers, anything that they want them to know in particular. Let's begin with Zuri.
How did I know you was going to start with me?
The last letter of the alphabet.
Hey, Black Space. How are you guys doing? It's Zuri. I'm glad to be on the show. I don't know. There's a lot of things I would like to leave. It's probably not enough time, but one of the few things that I'm a mentor. I do astrology, and at homeschool I do a lot of things. So I'm in the process of making a lot of things happen right now.
That's what's up. Welcome back, Zuri.
Thank you.
China.
Hi guys. This is gonna be a good show. I'm excited to be here. Living in Dallas, single. So I'm really looking forward to this topic and diving into it. And I'm just happy to be here.
All right. Well, I'm sure the telephone lines are going to be ringing up real strong now. When you said single, yeah, it's going to flood. It's going to flood our phones. It might shut the whole podcast down.
Listen, I'm not opposed to that. Okay.
Well, welcome back, China.
Thank you.
And this is the first time for me. I'm not sure about everybody else, but we have a new panelist group. Welcome, Charmaine.
Hi, good evening. How are you? So I am Charmaine. I am single as well. I'll throw that out there and trying to date. I'm also transitioning. I was a preschool director, and I now am transitioning into consulting for preschools. So I hope preschool programs get their centers quality, rated quality. And yeah, so.
Well, welcome, Charmaine. I'm looking forward to having this discussion with you this evening.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
All right, so let's get into it. The average man, the average woman, and relationships. So maybe we should set the baseline here, and I'm really interested in getting the female perspective here. So let's begin with the first question. We're going to do a round robin. Take your time. Beginning with Zuri. Zuri, what is...
Hey, let me go last.
What is the average man? Describe him.
Oh, you caught me off guard there. What do you mean by when you say what's the average man? Like what do you look for?
Whatever you say, whatever you think Um, and do women think of men this way? Do women put men in the average bucket and the above the average bucket and the below average bucket?
Oh, okay. So you're trying to get adjusted what average is versus above average or
Right.
Ooh, average can be a lot of things. To me, average depends on the individual, but to me, an average person is someone that's just kind of not like pushing themselves to their best potential.
Hmm.
But there's so many things that can make somebody average. So to me, I don't
Hmm.
kind of look at people average. I just look at their, like their character and things like that. Do they stick to their word? But average, there's a lot of things that could be average because one person can think you're average and the next person can think you're above average.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
all in the eye of the beholder.
Okay. So it can be very subjective.
Yes.
Okay. China?
Mm. When I think of the average man, um, your average 9 to 5 Joe is what most people would think of. Um, he's doing okay, but not necessarily his best potential wise. Um, different things. The hot topics, salary range, income level, looks. When I think of just the average man, I think that a lot of people fall into that category, but they want to appear to be more. Um, so it's kind of iffy because average to me may not be the same for Zura, may not be the same for you or Charmaine. So it's very subjective.
Mm. A lot of men may fall into that category, but say it again, may fall into that category,
But they
but,
think that they're more.
but
And
try.
that's okay. That's okay. And it's nothing wrong with tooting your own horn, nothing wrong with, thinking you are the best that you can be. But sometimes, we can overstate things.
Men overstate things. Come on.
Oh, yeah, right. Whoever heard of that? But yeah, that's my opinion.
Okay. All right. Charmaine.
Um, so again, that is, like she said, subjective. So it depends on what we're talking about as well. Um, if we're talking about what the average man looks like, then um, uh, physically, I mean, well, financially or personal um, attributes. I mean, the average man. I don't know. Um,
No, like that's
medium range salary between maybe 40 to 60,000 a year. Average car, may not be a homeowner, the average man, so what are we, what demographic are we talking about?
Okay.
like what are we basing it off of?
Mhm.
Okay.
Off different things.
Okay. Are women generally in standard agreement? Generally, not all, as to when they see a man that could do that. Can they be in? If you get a group of women together, like you three together, and you're out somewhere having coffee or tea or brunch or whatever, can you all, without even saying a word, be in agreement that that's an average guy and there's an above average guy for the most
Off
part?
of off of appearance, I would say yeah. Just be honest. We're just gonna keep it. We're just gonna keep it
Keep it
real
real.
tonight.
Yeah.
Just off of physical appearance,
Hmm.
we know when something looks really good.
Hmm.
We know when something doesn't look too hot, and
Hmm.
then we know something like, okay, I could do that.
Right.
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. A
Right.
lot of people take being average as a negative, but to me, it's not. But that's my answer. I'll let the other ladies speak.
Okay.
So, you know, I was I was at brunch with my cousins in Chicago one afternoon, and this guy was at a table with all these beautiful Black women.
Hmm.
They were very well kept, and very poised. And at the end, like near the end of the brunch, this guy walks in. And when he walked in, me and my cousin, we were just like, that's that's a
That's
beautiful, that's a man.
okay. All right.
And you just knew he had on this perfectly, it was clearly a tailored suit. Um, he was very, he had long hair, but it was very groomed. He was Asian, and he was just very well put together. So I knew, like, he has, that's a, he's some, he has a certain stature. And yeah, so I get what I can see that, but some people kind of live on the other side as well. You may never know, if what they have going on. So
Okay. All right.
Um,
Go ahead, Zuri.
I would say no, you can't really tell by looks because there's like thousands and a lot of guys, even very rich people that dress like everyday people, and you would never know that they had long money. So I would say no, I wouldn't be going strictly off looks because sometimes people that are, like I say, don't that really have it all like to walk around like they don't have it all just for those reasons. And if
and
anything,
sorry,
more
go
than
ahead.
likely, I'm probably kind of going off the energy that the person carries, how they, what they speak about, what they talk about, things of that nature, and kind of also who's he surrounded by, and not even by women, by men.
And are we talking about average stature, like societal stature, or what are we talking?
Yeah, that was kind of my thought as well. But I didn't want to lead the questioning because I wanted to get just where your natural thought was. But it sounds like from the 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 mix that you all are presenting here that the average or status of the man is going to be a mixture of his physical appearance, the energy he brings, his socioeconomic status, the car he drives. So it's not all of one and none of the other, or vice versa. It's a mix. And then Zuri says, for Zuri, the physical piece really is the least telling as she sees it as an average guy, which leads me to the question: Can can a above average guy be above average and not be physically uh, noticeable?
Yes, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Oh, continue. I just had to throw that in there.
Yeah, can the above can an above average guy be uh, all these things without the physical appeal?
Sure. Look at
Yeah,
Kanye. I'm just playing. No. Yeah. So the physical, some people are just more laid back, and they don't care about the aesthetics and the material, or even if they do, like, they just want to live in, just be what they want to wear, what they like. They want to present themselves how they want to present themselves. Their energy can be good or bad, doesn't matter what, how much money you have, or how much status you have, or what position you have, and so yeah, I believe so.
Can the above average guy be physically gifted and still be above average with a low socioeconomic income status?
I'll be honest.
I don't think so.
In today's society, right?
Yeah. Okay.
You can have both of the extremes here. So some people will tend to, tolerate things a little bit more if it's a more physically attractive person.
Mhm.
Some people may tend to tolerate things a little bit more if they have some money in the bank.
Mhm.
It to me is when it comes to me and my preference, you don't have to have, all the money in the world, and you surely don't have to be a 12 out of 10.
Mhm.
Um, so, but I'm only speaking for me, right? You have the world that tells you, well, this person isn't good enough or that person isn't good enough. And I don't agree with that, of course. But people are they can be influenced, right? So it really just depends on what someone thinks is important, right? Is character important? Do you need a guy that can turn heads every time he walks in the door? Do you need a guy that can buy you bags or fly you out? I hate that, but that's what we're talking about, right? It's really depending on what you're willing to tolerate with.
And aside from your personal perspective, in general, what is the average woman's perspective on a collective level? What's the average woman's perspective? Which side do they tend to lean on? Do they tend to lean more towards he's got to be up there at a certain level, economically, socioeconomically, regardless of looks, or in
I,
general?
I think generally speaking, now most women are aiming towards the above average male, and like you said, the financial stability. We're aiming towards it, but a lot of us aren't even above that average. We're still, average still, even as the female speaking,
Mhm.
or as China said earlier, some of us think that we're in that above average range, but we're really not.
Mhm.
So I
Okay.
would say that majority of females or women nowadays go for the everybody wants the above average and nobody wants to go to average or any of that anymore.
Okay. So let's flip the coin. And what is, beginning with Charmaine, what is the average woman? What are the components of the average woman?
Average woman, educated, um, um, career. Well, again, I guess we're talking about where we're talking about what's demographic we're talking about. So, I mean, anyway, so um, income probably um, probably about the same as the guys that I said before, maybe a little higher now, honestly. Um, and single, and a lot of us childless,
Mm,
um,
mm.
and um, career oriented.
Car- car- Career versus job.
Yes. I just had this conversation today with someone actually.
And how did that conversation go?
Well, he was saying that you know, he a red flag for him is a woman that, is really about herself and brags about herself a lot and what she has going on, and she doesn't need a man, and she could do this, she could change her oil and her tires, and she, all that. And so I was saying, I agreed, that definitely a red flag. But I was telling him, you got to allow for some grace, because a lot of that conditioning is from, your childhood, whether or not you had a father in the home. If you didn't have a father in the home, you had to be all of that, and you had to watch your mother be all of that. If you did have a father in the home, a lot of us, we might have been over or hyper independent driven, because they wanted to make sure that we didn't just deal with anything and put up with anything. So I'm gonna make sure that you know how to do this, and you know how to get this done, and you know where to go for that. And so we didn't have to depend on anyone. But where it goes wrong is having to constantly say that, and constantly show that, and constantly be that, and constantly live that. That can be annoying. So I get that. But yeah.
Okay. That sounds like a very interesting discussion there.
It was
We should got him on the show tonight.
Yes.
Okay, China.
I want to just go back to one thing that she mentioned. I too had a conversation, pretty much trying to get a man's perspective on how much to give when you initially meet someone. And I say that because I'm an accountant, and I went on a date a little while back, and of course the topic's gonna come up. What do you do? Have kids? Blah.
Right.
And I said, I'm an accountant. Oh, so you? Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
here we go.
Do you like me? Do I like you? Let's circle yes or no. Why are we worried about that? Right? Initially. So it's weird that she brought that up, because I was asking my friend, do I need to tell people? Nothing against Walmart or Target, but I'm like, should I tell people I work at Target, or should I tell people, because I get that response quite often. And it's like, oh my gosh, no, I don't need you to pay my bills, but I still want a man. Okay, so let's talk about that.
But if you want to pay them,
we are not turning down anything, okay?
NT thing.
But back to the question. The average woman, of course, we know, Black woman, we know that we are college educated. And even when it comes to the children and aspects like that, I would say the average woman may have 1 to 2 kids. And when I think of average, I'm thinking about the people that's more than likely on the dating scene, right? 20s to 40s, right? So let's talk about the 30 crowd. She may have 1 or 2 kids. She more than likely will have a decent job, if not a great career. The average woman is looking for an above average man. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's good. The average woman is looking for the above average man.
More than likely.
Say more about that.
Say more about that
too.
Well, just off of conversations that I have, even just with random women at a bar, right? I know I spoke with a lady, and she makes like 60, 70K. And she told me that she wants her man to make 6 figures. Okay, sis. I am heavy on, if I have this expectation of you, I should have that for myself, right? So what makes a man any less because he's at 70, 75K? Because he didn't quite meet the threshold of 100K, that he's null and void to you? Go ahead.
No, so okay, I won't say that I completely disagree with what you're saying, because what does make him less. However, I don't knock it, like, they know what the consequence is. Either you gonna find that, or you're gonna be single. Or, like, that's what it is. So if they want to set their standard to whatever they want to set it to, I mean, and I've seen some crazy stuff because I don't know if y'all watch Kendra G dating show, but they there's some crazy stuff out there. I've heard a lot, but most of it, I mean, not a lot shocks me because I'm just like, there's somebody out there that's gonna fit and check the boxes and of your non-negotiables. Now there are some stuff that you can kind of have some leeway about, but there's gonna be somebody to love somebody that has 5 kids with 5 different dads. Like they're snatching them up too. So, like if they want to set their standard for a high value man, then
But see,
even if they're just average, like
but see, that's the thing. It's nothing wrong with that. But let's be realistic here, right?
That's what I was
The
gonna
average
say.
black man does not make 6 figures.
There you go.
So,
That's what I was gonna
however,
say.
there are a lot of them that do.
yes,
There
but we
are
got
And
to
the
think about
ones,
it.
majority of the ones that do aren't looking for average women, or if they are, not even really like high gross women.
Well, when you say average,
Well, that was I was gonna say to me, my idea of an average woman, it really doesn't have anything to do with the career. To me, an average woman to me is a woman that follows all the trends, like you say, maybe single, 2, 3 baby daddies. That's average to me, or that's even kind of below. But different fathers for your children, that's average. You can't think for yourself. You're average. You're following the norm of what all the rest of 40-year-olds following 20-year-olds, and just younger people. To me, that's average. Just not thinking for yourself and above the bar. To me, that's average. If you're bringing the same thought process that every other woman's thinking, you're average. Because what's going to make you different from the rest of those women?
a lot, possibly, like
I,
is
I
Possibly,
think
but it's not the
so
exception to the rule, though.
if we're talking average based on, okay, so if we're talking average for a woman that may make, if we're talking money, say 25,000 a year, she's working at well, McDonald's probably makes more than that these days, but she's working just a regular job, and she can meet somebody tomorrow if she's beautiful and she has herself together, and she may or may not have kids, but she can have kids because she's within childbearing age. Like a lot of things add value to a woman that might be considered average. So
no, that is true. I think I look at it more on the number side of things.
yeah, you're an
The,
accountant, so I
the, right? The above average man, if he's a decent looking man, if he's a good man, if he has a decent career, 9 times out of 10, he's already taken, right? So the pool just lessens for the people who
That,
everybody can't have a high value man.
like
We
you
all
said,
would want one, right?
like
But
you said, Tanya, you're right.
statistically, it's not possible for every woman to have a high value man. So in my just how I view things, yes, I make 6 figures. Okay. Does that mean I still don't need a man to come take this trash out? Does that mean I still don't need a man to hold me at night? Because that king get real lonely, right? So he doesn't have to be, this high value man to y'all. He could
That's
be
what
high
I was
value
going to
to me.
say. Because
You know what I
high
mean?
value doesn't always have to deal with finances.
right. And
Is
sometimes
is high value and above average, are they synonymous?
I
no.
mean, yeah, I would say yeah because you have above average, average, and below average. So I would say
But value versus average. So as you said in your example, I may not get the 6 figure guy, which according to your criteria here, 6 figure guy is most likely above average, uh, but he still has value for other things.
exactly.
So there's a difference, isn't there, with that example between value and the classification of the guy.
And so also there's not just the six figure. You, again, like you said, you can have a high value man that makes 70,000, just average, but he has all the other things, but when you're trying to account for what may or may not be um, a reasonable ask or a requirement um, for anybody, male or woman, like we all just have those things that we want. There's somebody out there for everybody.
Well, let me
Somebody
ask
out there for everybody.
let me ask you this, as it pertains to the woman, whether she's average, whether she can be average or above average. Can a woman's beauty make her above average without the help of any of the other traits?
No.
Can her beauty alone be a commodity that will put her in the average category?
It depends on on who the partner is, or the prospective, suitor is. Like, for example, we see all over social media, the younger the Jadas and the Aries, and they're doing their own thing now and making a name for themselves, but their name was attached to just being beautiful and being on the arm of someone famous and rich. They didn't necessarily have any skill or any talent or any, whatever. And not to down it, of course, but just they were just beautiful. And so for that demographic, or for that look, that's all they needed. They maybe they can cook or something, or I don't know, but
I say for a period of time.
Yeah, that's right.
Anything can get old, and I'm not talking about in age. I mean, just because you're pretty, that can get real old if you don't know how to clean up behind yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you're pretty, that doesn't mean that's gonna keep you there if you don't know how to go around his family or go around his friends, or know how to conduct yourself. So that's why I say for a period of time. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree with that.
All right. And then there's a question for clarification on the male side. The average guy, does the number of sexual conquests or his ability to have sex with as many women as he desires, can that be factored into whether he's average or above average?
There's a lot of fine bums, so I don't know. I don't know. Maybe for a time, like you said, maybe for a time, but
So his sexual prowess alone does not factor into,
not a high value.
or not high value, but above average. Would you say that the above average guy has a high number of sexual conquests, and most likely has the ability to have sex with more women than the average guy, or is there no link there?
Yeah.
I don't think there's a link, because I mean, some do. A lot of men have discipline. Some high value men don't want to spread their seed. They're very careful with who they're gonna, carry on their legacy with. And you can't say, because there's a lot of women that give sex to bum dudes, and he's not high value at all. It could be I don't like to make characteristics, but
High value or above average?
who's above average?
You see, I want to make the distinction between value and average. You mean he's high value or above average?
I was saying that he's above average. I was saying all of them don't, even if they do have high sexual conquest. I don't think that kind of matters to women as much. But then also, there's a lot of men that are very careful about who carries on their legacy.
Okay.
But then I was saying that I don't kind of think the body count matters to majority of women, because majority of women are sleeping with, a lot of people are sleeping with like bum dudes or bum men. And
Mhm.
he's not even close to being high value, not even close to being average, but women are still sleeping with them. So I don't think that plays a big part in when women look at that. If that makes sense.
Okay.
And that'll only get you so far. And again, that usually will fall within that younger demographic.
It's
You'll
a
do a
lot of
lot.
them, Mister.
You do a lot. You'll overlook a lot for a beautiful smile. You'll overlook a lot for some good peen. You'll overlook a lot for so yeah.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of there's a lot of statistics out there that validate that the higher a man's level of income, the more the greater his ability to have intimate relations with women.
Say that again.
There's a lot of statistics, a lot of studies that show the link between the level of a man's income and his sexual um, um, behavior. He has more access, more opportunity um, compared to a man lower on the social economic income.
I was about to say that.
Yep. And better quality.
I will be honest. I've dated what people would say are high value men. Um, and they can be a bunch of whores, they can be a bunch of whores. And it is because they have the means to do so. Um, again, that will only get you so far to me. To someone who's actually looking for someone of substance, something real. Um, it may be fun for a Saturday night at 12 a.m., but eventually, if you want something decent, you're gonna come to your senses, right? So even only that can get you so far. But as Charmaine mentioned, it's a lot of women out here who are single. Okay, I'm not one of these who I'm about to go into now, but it's a lot of women who get lonely and they're like, you know what? I know Josh gonna come through. You know what? I know James gonna fall in. Let me reach out just for a good time. So yeah, if we're gonna keep it honest.
Yeah, this one study is from the um, National Library of Medicine, and trends in frequency of sexual activity. And the study, I'll just read the findings in the survey study of U.S. adults from 2000 to 2018. This is an older one. Sexual inactivity increased among men aged 18 to 24, 25 to 34, and women 25 to 34 during the study period. Men with lower income and with part-time or no employment were more likely to be sexually inactive.
And what was that age group for that? You said
The
18 to 24?
18 to 24, 25 to 34 in men, and 25 to 34 in women.
Yeah, I mean,
I would love to know when was that study posted?
This one is one in 2018. It was posted on June 2020
So it's from 2018.
in the Journey of the American Medical Association.
Okay.
And so I'm sure there's more recent studies, but I mean, even common sense will tell you from personal experience. If you just walk out as a man, this may sound very superficial, but women do respond visually. Not that women are necessarily turned on by, like, men are visual creatures, so we're turned on by the female body. Women can not that they don't admire the male physique, but that's not what really drives them. And I could be wrong, so I'm here with women, you can correct me. But from my experience, women are looking for more balanced approach where guys, we can, we're kind of zoning in on just that one thing. We're very myopic about, on that level. Um, but my experience is just that I do see the difference in treatment from women based on visual appearance. If I'm wearing a suit one day, or if I'm, whatever mode of dress, um, there's differences. People in general treat you differently based on how you're dressed, on how you present yourself. So I know that is there. And if you're looking like what's that song? I don't want no scrubs. No romance without finance. I mean, it's in all the music. It's in the movies. It's one of those basic primal behaviors between the male and female species.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's true.
Okay.
George, I've never asked you this. Are you married?
No, I'm not.
You single?
Yes, I am.
Where are you located?
I'm in Indiana.
Okay. I got you. I may have something, but no. We'll talk about that offline. Okay. He's in Maryland. I don't know, but I'm just in here wondering.
Okay. It sounds very. Is it fit for the discussion of the podcast, or is it? Oh no, you said this is offline. So
yeah, this for you.
Oh, okay.
This for you. I have a gorgeous auntie.
Okay. All right.
She's 49, 50, no kids.
Okay.
Military,
Well,
We'll
this
talk about that.
this
But
started. Okay, got you. This I started hearing the dating show music theme music come in from.
I'm really
Y'all
good
probably
at this.
y'all
I
probably
have to
too
beat
young.
myself up, but I'm good at it.
Okay. All right. All right. This is an interesting turn here.
Right?
Here's my next question, which based on everything you're saying, who suffers most if we're looking in the average man, average woman, who suffers most from a failed relationship?
Okay. So I thought Zuri was gonna hop on this question, but
she'll be back, I'm sure.
Yeah. So the woman, and the reason why I would say that is because women, we are emotional creatures, right? When we love hard. Not saying that men don't, but when we love, we really love. A man can, go through a breakup, and him and his boys can go hang out and he's gonna be all right. Meanwhile, the girl's on the phone with her mom, her best friend, her sister, listening to, I don't know, what did I listen to the last time? I can't remember. I think it was some Adele or something. My friend's husband told me, he said, don't listen to no Adele. If you're going through a breakup, you need to be listening to some Eminem or something. But he was like, you need to get out of this. Get out of this. And this is coming from a man. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I'm upset. And I'm upset. I'm crying. I'm hurt. Meanwhile, I'm pretty sure my guy was just fine. Right? Because, emotionally, they can check out sooner. So that's why I would say the woman suffers more exiting a relationship.
Anyone disagree with trying on that?
I don't. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, I was gonna say I think the man suffers a little bit more, and then I kind of asked around today as well. And most men feel like they suffer more than women do when it comes to the breakup in the relationship, because most men say once they find that one, like that one or the partner, spouse, and there's a breakup, they've actually bonded and attached to that person. And when the breakup does happen, it's easier for women to get men than it is for men to get women. So
Interesting.
when women break up, sometimes you got your homeboys waiting. oh, girl, this and that, waiting there, people in line.
But what are they waiting for?
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Like I said, it only lasts for so long, but from the male perspective, like they say, when it does break up, okay, yeah, okay, say they do find another female it's just to sleep with, but it's hard to find another female to be interested in besides sex. Like, okay, but when the sex thrown out the window, can I just hang out with her? Can I trust her? Is she who she says she is? So it's a lot. I think it is harder for men on breakups than it is women. Like what China says, like you soak in the music, that's a personal choice that we decide to do because we're like, oh, I'm heartbroken, I gotta soak in it, instead of just like looking at the aspect of everything and kind of being attached, and depending on however long it is, like just move on, or it wasn't exactly what it was meant to be. But I think it's hard. I think it's harder on men than it is women when it's
Who
breakup.
did you ask? Or because I heard you say spouse. Well, did you ask married people?
I said several men,
Oh, okay, okay,
girlfriends, yeah.
okay. That's
And
interesting.
I think, and I kind when you kind of do look at it, even like when I kind of do look at it, when I do have my male friends and they break up, or the females, it's much easier for a woman to move on if she really truly wants to. But I think it's just harder on the man. And we as women don't look at it as being hard on the man because they're not showing it, and we are. It's still hard on them at the same time.
Interesting.
Um, I think if we're talking from that angle of like emotions, maybe, but I think a lot of times when men take it hard, it's more of it's less emotion and more ego. Um, Not that they don't love, of course, if they really love and care and there was a deep, whatever. But if we're talking about just dating, someone that may not have been too serious or whatever, um, then I think the women come out less or come out more hurt um, on that end. Maybe just because we are just deeper in that way. And
You know,
we
I was thinking of it like I'm sorry, I thought you were. I was thinking of it like you were just saying, just a relationship, like you've been dating for a while versus a marriage. Because I will agree with
Yes,
Zuri. I've seen men go through a divorce and oh my gosh, they miss that woman, they miss that soft place, right? Versus just a guy that's out there dating and he met a girl and 4 months later didn't work out. Meanwhile, she's over here in her feelings. He's probably already had two or three on his line. So I guess it also to me it also depends on if you're married, if you're just talking about dating,
yeah,
casually dating. Um, yeah, that's
and what happened, Did she cheat? Did he cheat? Did
mhm.
he end it? Did she end it? All kinds of factors,
yeah.
because he
Mhm.
anyway, we're not gonna.
So, a couple of things that have been said there. I want to start with what Jury said about it's easier for women to to restart a relationship or enter in a new relationship than it is for men. And what I will say from the male experience is that I'll use an example. One of my early learning experiences as a young man, I was at this party, and uh, now back in my day, we did things a little different. I don't know about your generation, uh, but I was at this party, and I'm with my guys. We're hanging out, and the guys over on one side, the girls on the other side. Yes, that was the thing. We actually did that back then. And so the guys had to initiate, would you dance? So, the guy would make that walk across the floor and do, make the initiation. Now, if he goes and asks the first lady for a dance and she says no, should he go right to the next lady and ask her?
Yes, I agree.
No,
Why
no.
not? I was just saying if you guys are at a dance and you're younger and you go ask a woman, can she dance, right?
Right. And she says no.
Okay, so what
Do
if
you
there's
go
another
right to the
female?
next? Do you go right to the next lady and ask her?
Is the reason no because you guys' ego would be hurt, or just that's not what you do?
I'm just
No,
asking. I'm seeing what you all are thinking about that.
no, I don't think you do because I mean, it doesn't make the woman feel special, you know? Oh, okay, well, let me just get the next
If she told him no, but to me, I'm like, if
Why
she
would I
told
want
him
you after she?
no, if she told
Listen,
him no, then that's not what he wanted. There might been the next girl might be the one. It's not like they had a relationship. It's just a
Yeah.
dance.
Well, I can.
I,
I can. I can. What were you going to say, China?
I agree with Zuri. You know, I'm too old to be missing out on my blessings.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If and you know, even if you're younger, you can't miss out on the blessing because somebody said no.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay. There's gonna be some yeses down the line too. So why not, as we say, shoot your shot? Absolutely nothing wrong with that. There was no attachment there, right? It was just a
Exactly.
dance.
So
That's
are
what
you
I'm saying. No attachment.
are you saying that if you're hanging out with your homegirls and a guy walks up to you at the bar and asks you for your number and she says no, and he turns around and asks you for your number, you gonna give it to him?
ooh.
I'm gonna be honest with you. What I would do in that situation,
You would do what?
you know, I'm gonna be honest with you. What I would do in that situation, well, so I'm sorry I had to take a work call, so I missed part of your story, George.
That's okay. That's okay.
But all I caught in was if you asked a girl to dance and she said no, is it okay for you to ask someone else, right? So
No,
story time.
no. Not is it okay? I'm saying should you?
Should you?
Yes.
Why shouldn't you?
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
that's what I'm saying.
so
He was saying he went right from one girl and went right to the
But
next girl
and
to ask.
I understand where George is coming to from too, Charmaine. But what you're saying is what George is saying. That's not his homegirls, and with your homegirls, that's a totally different ball game than versus just being
No,
out somewhere and a man comes and asks you, or like he says, if George says they're at it, and I'm not even gonna lie, I'm thinking about what's that basketball movie from I think where they get married or they all grow up together and they had like scores. I can't remember the name of the movie.
Love and basketball.
No, no, not Love and Basketball. This movie came out, I think, like in the late '90s, early 2000s,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what the guys were doing. They would like bet all before they went to the dance how many girls that they
oh,
can.
you talking
Oh,
about
the wood.
the
The
wood?
wood.
Yeah,
But no, first off, they was in middle school,
I know.
and
But I'm
so.
just saying,
But we talking about, and he used that as an example. But we're grown, so like,
yes, I mean, but that's what I'm
if you
thinking
saw a
of.
man, even if it wasn't your homegirls, what y'all your homegirl, you chilling with your homegirls, but he approached somebody on the other side of the bar. You saw that he approached somebody on this other side of the bar. He shot her down and then walked over to you and was like, hey, by the
He
way,
shot her
So when
down.
you
He shot him down.
no, he
yes,
got shot.
yeah,
she shot him
and if
down.
She shut him down.
Or
if
whether
he
she
came to
gave
talk
him
to
the number
me
or not, even
and
if
I
she
didn't
gave him
know
the
her,
number, do
I
you want
wouldn't
to
shoot
give him your
him
number
down.
after that?
I
but
wouldn't
see,
shoot
I look
him
at it
down.
like this, right?
I wouldn't shoot him down.
No, I truly
You would
do
shoot
look
him
at it
down.
like this. I'm
Wow.
not a jealous hearted person.
Exactly.
That's just number one. I'm not a jealous
No.
hearted person.
A what?
If a guy, if I'm in a bar or a club, I don't club, but if I was in a lounge or anything like that, and I saw a guy shoot his shot at a lady, right? 10 minutes later, he comes and I saw that, he might have, body language. She shot him down. Okay, cool. I'm out to mingle. Okay.
That's what
I'm
I was
out to have a
trying
good
to get the
time.
words out my mouth. People, you go out to mingle.
That
Yeah,
is no.
mingle.
Okay, let's be clear. Let's be clear. Okay, visualize this with me. That is
Work with me, people. Work with me.
that is different than. Okay, so what he's saying, what I am saying, and what he is saying is different than you're out there mingling. He might have bought you a drink and whatever. After that incident had happened, and y'all talked and progressed throughout the night. That is different. And then he asked for your number. He said he offered the girl a rose and walked over to the next girl and offered her a rose. If a man did that to you in front of you, you would not give him your number. You would not give him your number. Now, if the night progressed, y'all having some drink, you might have had a few drinks. It's been a while. Some breeze and whatever flow through the the club.
Yeah, reset the palate.
But you would not let him open his mouth to ask for a number, get rejected, or whether or not she gave him the number. Who cares? But walk right over to you immediately after and ask you for yours. You gonna give it to him?
Okay, so we're talking about a dance. That's what I thought.
Everybody's on a different page.
We were talking about a dance.
Let me give you the metaphor here.
I'll give using it as a.
This was a metaphor. So let me get, and I'm coming from the male perspective.
Okay.
The male perspective from experience is no. You do not ask the woman next to the woman that just turned you down. Why? Because you now look like old meat. You have been rejected. And so so the man really is in a no-win situation. If he asks the next woman, chances are that he's going to get rejected again. Now you've been rejected twice. Mm-hmm. And if he just walks back, that's still, even though that's probably the best move to make, the least harmful move to make, that's a long walk back.
I get what you're saying.
See what I'm saying? Because it's about the look. And the reason I brought this example up is by what Zuri said in terms of the ease of the woman, of the average woman versus the average man in getting into another relationship. Because typically speaking, and I'm coming from the male experience, so you can challenge it. Women want the guy who looks like he's got it going on, not the guy that looks like he's just been rejected. There's just something about that visual that does not instill a spirit of confidence, of perception by the prospective female. What are your thoughts on that?
So even with the scenario that you gave, I guess life ain't that deep to me, right? It's really not. Like, it's really not. I understand why you say the man shouldn't. But if we're just talking about a dance or even to get who really it's not that deep. That's just my opinion. But on the other side of that, I don't know too many people who are gonna raise their hand and say, "Okay, I'll take me a bomb." Right? Nobody's gonna say that.
Right.
Even if you want that bomb, that's your bomb, and you're gonna love him in private. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
You're not gonna raise your hand and say, "I want me a bomb."
Right.
Of course, I want someone who has their stuff together. Why would I mean that I have myself together? Of course, I don't have children. Nothing against men who have them because I will date them as well. Preferably, I want a man who don't have children. Preferably, I want a man who has a decent job. That's what I prefer. I don't think anyone is going to reach for the bottom.
Let me say that from my perspective, living as a Black woman in America, single, I haven't been married, but single, no children, right? Dating. And I foolishly spent a lot of time building men. You know what I mean? Like I've done that. And I think that is a lot of our experience. And whether you want to sugarcoat that and make it sound a lot better than it really was or what, but that has been our experience. And so now that we're older, some of us are prioritizing some things more than others. Some things are preferences and not deal breakers. But our ideal man is going to look different than a 25-year-old ideal man. What I was trying to do at 25 is nothing close to what I was trying to do at 37 now. Like,
Mhm.
I wish,
Can I
Yeah.
ask you
but
this though, Charmaine? And this is just for women in general, since you said that you were speaking on that. Why, at the age of 25, are you doing things? I mean, not saying totally different. I mean, like, as far as looking for men, like, why do we feel like we have our 20s to waste, be
nobody
wasteful?
said that. Nobody said we
No,
felt like we had it to waste. That's
no,
what
you
we
said
did.
what you were looking for when you're 25, and then when you're
No,
40,
no,
you're
I'm.
looking for something.
I wasn't talking about as far as that. I'm talking
Okay,
about as far as my life and like my goals and what I'm doing and
okay.
yeah. So I just mean that as far as life goes, not necessarily in a man.
You know what? I have this conversation with a girlfriend of mine quite often, and we see things differently on this point. Um, Black girls, not black women, but black girls were taught that you don't need a boyfriend. Just focus on your studies, focus on school, and not saying that you shouldn't. But don't worry about those boys. Wait to settle down when you're 30. I really, really, really wish we start teaching our young girls better than that
Yeah, every
because
other
you
culture does.
what's that?
I said every other culture practically does except us.
Except for us, right? Because what you will find are I look at the girls and I look at the women that I associate myself with. We're all 30 plus. I think I'm probably the youngest. We're all 30 plus, great jobs, great career, no children, never been married. All of these good things that checks the box for some people, but yet we're still single, right? And if I had focused, I can multitask, right? We women, we can multitask. I don't understand the reason why we tell our young girls not to focus on this because those young girls will eventually become young women
Fear,
want to be hard. So I'm just
fear.
glad you brought that up because I tell my young girls, girl, listen, you in college, you need to be looking who's
That's
doing
right.
well, who's doing well in
That's
class,
right.
right?
Looking for your husband.
Who looks like they're going somewhere because we don't we teach our girl, oh, you don't need a man, wait till you're 30 to settle down. I'm like, will you please stop telling these girls that because
That was majority of them to me. That was their life. So in order
Mhm.
to make the children feel right about it or your life, you have to, present that because if you tell them something awkward at that age, the young girl's going to be like, "Well,
Well,
mommy, why didn't you do this? Or why haven't you did this?" So you have to continue it so it makes it look like how she was raising the child was okay.
I think a lot of that comes from though, just fear, like fear from who was raising us, or a lot of us, of, getting caught up with boys and getting pregnant early and losing focus on, the things that were going to make them better in the long run versus having the fun right now. So they were just trying to protect us out of fear. I believe a lot of that
I
was,
believe
but
it's out of
when
fear.
you also don't know, like a lot of the things that we suffer with is from a lot of trauma that we have to unlearn.
projection,
So
That's
projection.
what I was going to say also, because I was going to say, at the end of the day, most women, like you say, it's out of fear, but you have to realize that your child is not you. Nowadays, your children's looking at like, I'm not making that same mistake that my mama made, or you would hope that,
well, when
but
you
you
know
have to
better, you
stop
do better.
projecting because just because it happened to you doesn't mean that it's going to happen to your child. Your child might be smarter. Your child might be the cycle breaker. The child might be the black sheep. Might be the person that's just like, this lifestyle isn't for me. It might have been for you, but it's not for me, and I'm not taking this route. So
Well, I think I think that's also, um goes along with, um how you're raised as well. So your
yeah, most
background.
definitely.
Hmm.
Yeah, but you have outside influences. I'm sorry. We do have
You're
outside.
right. You're right. You're
They
right.
have more influence than the parents nowadays. And I'm not trying to toot my horn. I promise you I'm not, but I use myself as an example. Okay? What better way to get to a young girl than to use self? I'm like,
That's
girl,
right.
listen, yes, I take trips. Yes, I do nice things, but I also do them by myself. Right? So Why not take this time when you're not saying I'm not in my prime, but take this time when you're in your youth. That's still considered 20s. You very youthful.
Right.
Take time to actually discover what you want from the opposite, right? Because I do understand how you're raised and all that plays an enormous part. But at the same time, I can get information from you ladies, right?
Right.
Reach one, teach one. So if we just collectively come together and say, okay, we not trying to be city girls in our 20s, right?
Right.
I know what you're saying. I mean, I don't really follow the new rappers and all that, but I did come across, no, I heard it on the radio. I was getting ready for work, and someone mentioned that, what's the gorilla? Someone mentioned that she did an interview and she said, use your 20s to be toxic.
Yeah, I heard that.
Wow.
Our young girls are listening to that.
Yeah.
Okay. So
But
it's up to us to
go ahead.
it's up to us to say, hey, listen, all right, that's all cute and everything, but let's go to
It's
brunch, right?
entertainment.
Let's go to dinner. Let's do something. And you know, you don't have to say a word sometimes. Just your presence alone can speak volumes. So
Um. So, oh, I lost my train of thought. I know.
Well, why you get that thought out? There's a question I'm going to ask China. China, the women that you're describing in at your level of income and career, are those average women or above average women?
honestly, I would say above average.
Okay, so I remember what I was going to say.
Okay.
The No, I lost it again. Sorry.
Okay, it'll come back.
Okay, I was gonna say
It'll come back.
above average, but I'm not talking about appearance. I'm not talking about just career level. I'm a good person. I like to hang around good people, right? The women that I think of, that I surround myself by, they're really good women. And nothing against people that's not from the South, but it's something about a Southern woman. I've been told. I don't know. I've been told.
Okay. All right.
Just, you know, we know how to treat people, not just men, right? We know how to treat people well. The women that I'm thinking of, we take care of one another. We cheer on one another. There's no jealous spirits there. So on top of the career level, physically attractive, all that is great too, but there's still more depth to what makes a good man or a good woman.
The inner beauty.
That's right.
The inner beauty. Okay.
Did you remember what you were going to say, girl?
Yes, I had to write it down.
Okay.
When you make your other points, I'm like, okay, I got you.
Mm-hmm.
It's throwing me off. But yeah, so no, I was just gonna say that we know better now. Like we have more information now, and so now that we know better, we do better. But we didn't know then, like that's where the grace comes in. And so now that we know that it's our duty to, teach better and I think that goes for all communities. I see a little bit of awakening in a lot of different ethnicities and backgrounds and
Men, women. I think men are waking up, like you said. That's why I was like, even some of the questions that you're asking George about, then the men and women have like changed. You know, the way that you guys thought back then. A lot of men don't think like that nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
The way that women thought back then,
Yeah.
women aren't thinking like that nowadays. Everything's switching up.
Yeah.
Like you said, people are waking up to things that they were asleep to once before, that they suffered and put through. People aren't dealing with that anymore if they don't have to. Now they know that hey, look, I can walk away. But not the grass is always greener on the other side. But now people are more like self-preservation. I need to take care of myself. I don't have to put up with this. And that's man or woman.
And I hear a lot of parents now, like my age, younger, and they're raising teens, and I hear a lot more. I talk to them, we have conversations. They talk to me like they would a friend, you know what I mean? So there's and that wasn't us. We didn't do that. Like we might have been cool. We might have like enjoyed our parent to an extent, but we didn't have these conversations. Like one of my friends the other day was telling me about his daughter told him when she lost her virginity at 16. So, like I would have never said something like that to my parent. But, like they're more aware of needing that open communication and
one-sided relationship.
Yeah.
But there's so many sources outside of the parents, so they have to have those. My mama didn't necessarily have to have certain conversations with me growing up because my family was my influence. My classmates were my influence. I didn't have this, right, as my influence.
Right.
So certain conversation my mom didn't have to have, right? Even, just
what do you mean by didn't have to have?
What's that?
What do you mean by didn't have to have?
Like, I know this is nothing. It doesn't go with anything that we're talking about. I was talking to my good friend day before yesterday just about kid suicide, right? Suicide is not a new thing, but we all know that it's grown tremendously in numbers with children and teens. So just not even just the sex talk, anything like that. Like there were certain conversations that our parents didn't have to think about having with us because we were not exposed to it.
Right.
So now you'll be a fool and a half to not have the conversation with your children. You have to. It's not an excuse anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so look, I've got a whole lot more questions to ask because your answers keep stimulating my questions, but we are getting close to that time. So we're going to end it this round because we're going to have to come back. Charmaine, you have been a great panelist. Just wonderful. Love your spirit and everything. We're going to have to come back and do at least a part 2 on this so I can get the rest of these questions out. And for the most part, it would appear that you all are in agreement that the average woman is the one who suffers the most. So with that being in mind, I'm not saying it's the correct answer or incorrect answer. That's what we've come to so far. And we really haven't examined the male side of the equation yet. But here is what I want you all to ponder on and give maybe a 30-second or less response to this following question. If the average woman suffers the most from a failed relationship, should she stay average? Since I started with Zuri first, I'm going to start with China this time.
Okay. If the average woman suffers more, should she remain average?
If she suffers the most from a failed relationship, should she stay average?
I think we all have room for growth. Even the best can be better. I know you said 30 seconds, so I'll make it quick. I just want to say it's absolutely nothing wrong with being average, right? If that's the best that you want to put forth, if that's the best that you can do, that's okay, right? But always strive to do better. Even if it's just 1%, 5%, 10%, any type of growth will help.
All right. Charmaine?
So I think that's exactly what's caused the hyper independent women having to going through these this hurt, this pain, and having to adapt and readjust and realign and figure yourself. That's what's caused the hyper independence. So that's another conversation because now we got to talk about how men need to take responsibility for how this is happening.
That's deep.
But
that's deep. Okay. All right, Zuri.
Remember, I did say that I thought that the men hurt more than women.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
But I agree, kind of like what China said. I don't believe just because you've been in a relationship and the woman's hurt the most that she could remain average. No, like China said, everybody has room for growth. Figure out hold yourself accountability. Maybe you don't have to hold yourself accountable, but it takes two to tango. It takes two to make things happen. So hold yourself accountable for whatever you did wrong. Do growth so the next relationship, hey, only you can make yourself above average, like China said. So make yourself better than you were 10 minutes from before. It's all up to the individual if you want to sulk or you want to just, like you say, heal and move on and create growth so you don't have to worry about that the next time around. You know how to use discernment.
All right. Okay. Drop the mic.
I'm sorry. I know we're being serious right now. Zuri, you really remind me of that commercial we used to hear. Only you can prevent.
Well,
only you can prevent.
Back to self. So I always try to get us to understand that.
Okay. That just brought me back. But you're right, though. Only you.
So some of the things that we're going to get into in part two is one of the things that I see in women in general, to include the average woman, is that even when they're in a committed relationship, they already know at least 3 other guys that are waiting on them if they ever leave that relationship. They already know.
Correct.
But they probably ain't shit either. So
I'm just saying, just from the male perspective. And then this other comment that came up, that the average woman is looking for the above average man, and I really wanted to get more into that and ask the question, can an average woman keep an above average man? I'd really like to get into that discussion.
Mm-hmm. That's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Make sure I'm back for that one, George.
Mm-hmm. And then lastly, Charmaine's comment about the difference between 20s and 30s and up. Maybe it makes me study or ask, or it makes me curious about which has more influence. Does the young woman's behavior have more influence on how men are going to develop their female strategy? Which one has more power? The male's attempt to initiate the relationship, or the woman's ability to motivate men to initiate relationships? So these are all things that I like to discuss for part 2, maybe part 3. You guys have been great. Zuri, China, Charmaine, you are as beautiful as you are intelligent.
Thank you.
thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Yes.
George.
I have to say, this is probably the best looking podcast panel show I've had the pleasure to facilitate.
You better let them know, George. You better let them know, okay?
Wow.
Listen, y'all know I'm the fun one, okay? But we appreciate it. Thank you, George.
And the phones have been ringing off the hook. Especially when Charmaine said she's single too. That just messed everything up.
Zuri, are you single?
I'm very picky. I'm just.
Oh, you're not?
No.
Okay. Girl, listen, we're gonna have to talk.
But here's what we're going to do for the next show. I'm going to have two lines: the average line and the above average line.
Yeah, China, we could talk. I
Weed them out for me.
I help out
We're gonna have
plenty
to
of
talk,
women.
girl. I know
Thank you, George. Go ahead and weed them out for me.
It's hard out here in these Dallas streets. It's a lot of
I'll give you the
out
checklist.
here. It's hard, girl.
I'll give you the questions to ask so you can go ahead and weed them out for me.
All right, everybody. To everyone else, have a great week. And until the next time we meet, we'll see you in the black space.